Good evening, class. So, welcome to mapping session. I think after a long time we are having some session on prelims. Okay, right? So, the agenda for next 2 days is cover basic aspects with respect to mapping and aspects of international relations. And I am being very categorical here that when you look at both of these sections, I mean, the approach for these sessions have changed. Although in 2023 I had a similar session, in 24 I also had a similar session, but this year we are going to have a different approach when it comes to mapping and international relations. What has been UPSC doing constantly for last 4 or 5 years is we approximately see the range of questions from 8 to 12. But the problem with these 8 to 12 questions is you would hardly know 2 to 4 questions, rest 8 questions are going to be the surprise element. Now, because the problem with international relations as a subject, maybe in mains examination you will describe about what is the existing relation, or you can fundamentally describe about what is the existing analysis. But when it comes to prelims examination, what has been happening is there's a lot of factual overload which has been happening when it comes to IR. The same case in point could also be observed when you actually see mapping. Now for us, gone are those days where they are asking of rivers. Gone are those days where they are categorically asking about specific places, specific mountains. But what is the recent observation that you see is all of these section has become very random. Right? Some of you might comment saying that, sir, prelims itself became random. I understand. But one such section which is making prelims very random is mapping and IR. If you go back and refer to 2025 question paper, suddenly there were questions with respect to NATO, questions on Andes mountains, yes, questions with respect to international dateline, ideal, questions with respect to time zones, which we have never imagined that something like that could erupt when it comes to prelims examination. So what is observation here is whenever we have some section becoming random in prelims, we have two ways of approaching that section. One way of approaching that section is either look at some generalizations for that particular section. Now when I say generalization for that particular section, the specific understanding here is, if I look at international organizations, I have some bunch of generalizations. If I look at international agreements, I have some bunch of generalizations. If I look at international dimensions which are existing with respect to some regions and some localities, I have some bunch of generalizations. So what do you actually mean by these generalizations is that even if I'm not very aware about what is going on with the question, I can still arrive at an answer. I think because of that only most of you have definitely assembled today, right? And sometime in the middle of the session you might also feel I am performing some magic. Okay. But magic is definitely required in the context of prelims examination. Now the second approach that we see whenever it becomes very random is very famously known as elimination, right? And again I reinforce, I think this is for the third time I am reinforcing openly on record, that eliminations are never eliminated. And if somebody is saying that eliminations are eliminated, it fundamentally means the person is ought to be eliminated from the process if they eliminate the eliminations. Right? Probably you will have to listen to this dialogue in 0.5x to understand what is going on. It is appearing something like trouble troubles the trouble. But you understand that eliminations are the key for you to qualify prelims examination. Sir, what is your qualification of telling this? My qualification is telling fundamentally clearing 11 prelims, with respect to 6 civil services prelims and 5 forest service prelims. That's my track record of talking about how important eliminations are in prelims examination. So with this particular set of understandings, how is it going to be for today and tomorrow? I would fundamentally divide the session into two. Initial approximately for 1 hour or so, or around 15 minutes, I would majorly focus on mapping. The second half of the session, I would focus on solving questions majorly using elimination techniques. And most of my questions which are selected for the second half of the lecture is only going to be PYQs. And we would also see through PYQs, we would understand what kind of techniques could be put, what kind of generalizations could be put, what kind of normalization of the content to be put whenever you're solving something related to international relations. Because I think most of you would have already given an attempt at least, is what is my assumption. So in that context, you would have definitely experienced that this particular section of international relations is very random. Whichever magazine you read, UPSC has a different source of questioning. What is the source of it? Right? For us, only one funda is when I don't know anything and when it's a zero-sum game that's going to happen. I am going to get a little brutal in talking about elimination. So, kicking off from here, and remember 2-3 peculiar trends which actually happen with respect to international relations as such. One particular trend that you see with respect to international relations is, they say places in news, right? Most of the times, in fact, one very famous pattern of questioning is this side they will give the places, this side they will tell the country. This is one pattern. Or the second pattern is this side they will tell the country and this side they will tell what is the reason for which it was in news. Right? This is the second pattern of questioning which actually happens in the context of places in news. One is place and the country. The second one is country and the reason for it to be present in news. In general, if you observe, there are two regions which are very, very famous for this. One region is Africa. Any given day, when you look at for what reason it is in news, for what reason the place is in news and which country, one region is Africa. In case if you are unable to understand whether it is in Africa, whether it is somewhere else, please take it for granted 99.9% that is going to be in the region of Africa. I will tell you how to identify these names of Africa, Russia, Europe, India. I'll tell you certain tricks with respect to alphabetical arrangement of the places and the countries. The second region in this aspect, especially again, places in news and the country and the reason, is mostly with respect to West Asia. Mostly with respect to West Asia. Now, when I say West Asia, that is with respect to this Persian Gulf region, the Red Sea region, right? That particular bed, state of Hormuz, around that. Now, because when you look at that, majorly it is centered around Cuba, I-square, these countries, right? That is Saudi, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait. I-square is what? Iran, Iraq. Right? Now, these are the countries which are existing there, and most of the times I see this particular is coming from this or this. What is the common logic here? Both of these regions are highly troubled regions. And when they are troubled regions, most of the conflicts exist in these regions. And when most of the conflicts are existing in these regions, the second logic or the third logic will come. Most of these places are discussed in news. Right? So that is one peculiar logic which is used by UPSC in the context of matching. The second aspect that you see here, or the second pattern of questioning that you see, is it could be with respect to various international agreements. Various international agreements. Now, when you look at various international agreements, most of the times the region of focus here is EU, European Union. Why? Because if I have to tell you the nature of this particular region in the context of European Union, you see that this is highly progressive in nature. If something is happening with respect to any progressive legislation, any progressive advancement, any developmental agenda, most of the time it is centered around European Union. And every year, for good or bad, you see there is one question coming from agreements related to European Union. For example, this year we had a question on Nature Restoration Law, NRL, European Union. For example, in 23 we had one particular question with respect to the European Union signing some Stability and Growth Pact, if you remember. And the logic of them constantly putting on European Union in the respective agreement is very simple. If something related to progress, something related to development, something related to inclusion, it is majorly centered around European Union, right? So that is the point of focus that you will have to always remember. So first pattern is this matching, where most of the times it is Africa or West Asia. The second pattern is with respect to agreements, where most of the times it is European Union. The third pattern of questions that we generally come across in international relations is with respect to international organizations. With respect to international organizations. Now, when you look at international organizations, there are 2-3 areas of focus that you see with respect to these. Now, when you look at these 2-3 areas of focus with respect to international organizations, one, they would actually look at the financing capacities of a respective organization. By the end of tomorrow's session, I will tell you certain beautiful generalizations in the context of tackling those questions of international organizations. So one dimension that you see here is the financing capacity. Do they actually have this financing capacity? Or are they only centered around certain research activities or awareness building activities? Because you see, there are very few organizations which have the financing capacity, but most of the organizations are centered around awareness building and monitoring and acting like a voice for the voiceless most of the time. The second aspect that you see is what is the relation of that particular organization to UN. When I say what is its relation to UN, is it a direct agency, is it a specialized agency, is it a body of UN, is it has some relation with UN, is it reporting to UN? We see number of paraphrasings goes on with respect to questions in the context of UN and the international organizations. So that is another area which they are focusing. Another area that they are focusing upon is the mandate of that particular international organization. That means if a particular organization is given, what is their area of focus? What is their area of functioning? What is their fundamental aspect of reform are they looking at? Now, for suppose last year, if you look, we had a question on World Toilet Organization. How many of you have heard about that organization before? Right, maximum we heard was Swachh Bharat, something related to open defecation. Nothing about, first of all, most of us realized that something like that was existing only in the exam hall, which is a very wrong place to realize some organization like that. World Toilet Organization. And there is a 3-statement question which is given on that, and the examiner expecting you to answer that question. But in reverse, what are you people expecting? You people are trying to read every organization. Now, how many organizations can you read? Probably by the time you read all the organizations, there could be some other organization which is emerging. No, that is what is the criteria, that is what is the condition. Because one major concern that I see among our fraternity that is existing and sitting today, and somebody who is going to listen to me after the recorded video is released, one major problem is we hunt for sources, which is not a right approach when it comes to prelims examination. How many ever sources you read, how much ever research you have done, whatever be the expertise you have, at the end of the day, you are only going to settle down to 30 questions which you know. Rest 70 questions you will have to manage. And if somebody comes out of the exam hall of prelims examination and says that I knew 60 questions, I managed 40 questions, then that is a lie on the face of it. That is a lie on the face of it, because with my experience of clearing 11 prelims, which includes Forest Service prelims, it says that the range maximum goes between 18 to 32. In 21, which was my 5th prelims which I was writing, on the prima facie, on the face of it, when I saw the question paper, I hardly knew 18 questions directly. Uske baad what happened and how I got 128 in that particular year, and that's a different journey altogether. So what is categorically happening? Don't run behind sources, because you will never have any source for IR and the respective questioning pattern. So for that, only solace that we are going to rely upon is jugaad, generalization, elimination, normalization, some observation. That's all. So the third pattern of questioning that you see is international organizations. Now, fourth pattern that you see, especially in the context of IR and mapping, I don't want to differentiate them much. The fourth pattern that you see is some pattern which is very, very random. I'll give you certain examples of randomness in the context, although we have certain questions arranged to be solved. For example, if you go back and refer to 2023 question paper, we had a particular question on GCM, Global Migration Compact. Now, in that context, what happened when you look at GCM? We never know, we never knew, we never heard, and we never pointed out what is the composition of GCM. Or if I take the case of 2022 per se, you see there was one question with respect to refugee camps. Right? You remember Bidi Bidi, Kenya? Right? Some people are migrating here. I don't even remember the pronunciation of those words. But will we sit and read about all the refugee camps? Then we'll definitely have to include Ashok Nagar and Himayat Nagar also in that. Obviously. Right? Manamanta UPSC badutale. I understand. So in that context, what you have to remember, how are we going to approach those questions will also vary. That I cluster under random nature of questioning which is going on. Okay, so these are the general 4 questions that I see. But last year, questions with respect to geography, with respect to mapping, with respect to IR indicate that somehow they are going to again make a reverse trend with respect to conventional mapping. If I tell you an example and an evidence of conventional mapping, they were asking you which of the following countries are surrounding North Sea in 2024. You remember that? There was a question with respect to North Sea, and they had asked a question which of the following countries. That means once upon a time we used to see what are the surrounding countries of North Sea, Red Sea. That is conventional mapping, right? What is touching with respect to Strait of Hormuz, what is Strait of Bonifacio, what is Strait of Otranto. We used to see which seas are related with respect to all of these states. That is conventional mapping. So get ready and be ready for tackling those conventional questions as well, and with the right balance of emphasis on places in news. Now, starting off with respect to the first aspect of it, because every time this is my ritual, I start with the countries over equator, countries over Tropic of Cancer, countries over Tropic of Capricorn. Now, when you look at countries over equator, you see one easiest way to remember such dimensions is, again, you remember those countries with respect to Asia, you remember the countries with respect to Africa, you can remember some countries with respect to Central American region. One more area of focus in conventional mapping is definitely going to be the South American region. For places, I told you it is Africa and West Asia. For conventional mapping, be ready with South American region. For conventional mapping, be ready with South American region. And when it comes to seas, kindly focus on those which are present majorly in the Atlantic Ocean. right? Because again that is going to be an area of emphasis, that is again going to be an area of importance. Okay. Now when look at countries over equator, it is Maldives, Indonesia, Somalia, right? Then Kiribati. Hope you are able to see them. Should I zoom? Yes. So the countries are with respect to Maldives, Indonesia, Somalia, Kiribati, Gabon, Congo, Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador, Uganda, Kenya, and again you have DRC. Now, somewhere in this particular list, UPSC has obsession with respect to two particular countries. One, it is obsessed with DRC. It is obsessed with the DRC. For some reason, every time you see this name in the question paper. The second name that it is definitely obsessed is going to be with respect to Brazil. Right? The second obsession that you would see from the side of UPSC with respect to countries is going to be Brazil. Now, after Venezuelan crisis, South America is definitely a point of discussion for all of us. Okay? So, DRC and Brazil, most of the times. Now, why am I telling you this? In case if they are asking you some factual question and they are telling you which of the following countries, I would say if you find DRC or if you find Congo, kindly prioritize Congo as the first, right? Why? Again, UPSC's obsession with this. I can give you a number of such examples. You look at 2023 with respect to cobalt. Which of the following countries have major deposits of cobalt, right? Or if you look at 2024 with respect to Brazzaville declaration, we had Congo Basin being asked with respect to largest peatland, 2024. So Congo is always one hotspot that is present. Then, now when you look at countries with respect to Tropic of Capricorn, you see, first it is Botswana, then Australia, then Brazil. Now you see we had Brazil in equator also. Then Argentina, Paraguay, Madagascar, Mozambique, Namibia and Chile. Now where are the major countries that we see with respect to South American region? These are the major coverages with respect to South American region. Okay. So Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay and Chile. Next. I will look at Tropic of Cancer. Now when it comes to Tropic of Cancer, you would see the dominance of Asia coming back. Yes. Now in that context, we hardly see any South American region. We see majorly Central American with respect to Mexico. So we see the combination of Africa, that is Niger, Algeria, Egypt, Mauritania, Libya, Mali, Western Sahara. Right? Niger, Algeria, Mauritania, Egypt, Libya, Mali, Western Sahara. Then the rest of the countries are Asia. Rest of the countries are Asia. And you definitely know we have India. Yes. How many states? 20. How many states through which you have Tropic of Cancer passing? 28. 8. Right. So context of the question. Okay, don't separate out. Right. Now just write down one small dictation. Sahel region. Countries of Sahel region. I'll tell you why am I dictating this. Write down. We have countries like Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Chad, Sudan, Eritrea and Ethiopia. Now always remember, whenever I see some country present along Sahel region, most of these regions are troubled regions. Now when I say most of these regions are troubled regions, either you see there are movements with respect to anti-state, that means overthrowing of governments, or either you see an issue with respect to food security or problem of hunger. You see this particular region having an issue of hunger, or either it is anti-state, or this is one such region which is constantly known for ethnic conflicts. Now in case when they say that this is the country which was in news and this is the reason, most of the times we do not know, right? There were number of instances, there will be number of instances. In that context, if you find any of these regions existing there, I would always want you to see whether the reason is among these three. Now if it is something else, then that's an exception. But again, I told you we are only relying on generalizations for next 2 days. So one general aspect or general understanding is either it is overthrowing of government, or either it is with respect to what? Food security, or either with respect to ethnic conflicts, right? So that is another simple takeaway that you will have to remember. Now, as I spoke about latitudes, these are with respect to what? Tropic of Cancer in the context of India, right? Starting from there, you see Mizoram, Tripura, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Now, most of us would skip Rajasthan. Why? Because when you look at the proportion of coverage that is existing, that is extremely small, but do not skip. So in total, what should be the count? It should be 8. Either you remember from west to east or east to west. Don't start remembering from Madhya Pradesh. Generally, we have the problem of memorization also. We start from Madhya Pradesh and we are lost nowhere. Right? So in that context, either start from that side or this side. Right? The easiest would be starting from that side. Okay. That is with respect to Tropic of Cancer through India. Now this is in the context of prime meridian. Now when you look at prime meridian, one, you have UK, then France, then Spain, then Algeria, then Mali, then Burkina Faso, and then Togo. This is with respect to prime meridian. Now, one small longitudinal calculation that you keep making, because I think it's an imperative for us to discuss. When you look at these longitudinal calculations that you make, most of your reference is with respect to prime meridian. And you would have heard about that particular equation. For every 1 degree, we have 4 minutes. For every 7.5 degrees, we have 30 minutes. And for every 15 degrees, we have 1 hour variation. That is with respect to time. Because longitude only has one purpose in geography, that is time. Now, keeping that aside, when you look at the longitudinal references most of us take, one side we consider prime meridian, one side we consider international dateline. Because for us, it's a point of concern, it's a point of understanding that both of these are definitely imaginary in nature and these are longitudes in nature. Now, when you look at prime meridian, this is 0 degrees, and when you look at international dateline, 180 degrees. When I cross prime meridian, I see there is change in time. But when I cross ideal, there is no change in time, but there is change in day or date. Because on this, every year we are having one question coming again. Now, one small calculation that you should always remember is, if you remember, you would have also read about something called as, if you move east, you are going to gain, and what are you going to do? You are going to add. And one more calculation which tells you is, if you move west, again you are going to lose, you are going to subtract. Now, one point of addition that you will have to remember is, all of this is happening with respect to prime meridian. But what is UPSC focusing upon? UPSC is focusing upon what is its corresponding reference with respect to international dateline. Now, one small tabular representation that I would like to give you, if it is with respect to prime meridian or if it is with respect to ideal, are you moving east or are you moving west? Now, when you are moving east, what are we doing with respect to prime meridian? When we are moving east, we are adding. When we are moving west, we are subtracting. Just reverse this condition. When you are moving east with respect to ideal, you will have to subtract. And when you are moving west with respect to ideal, you will have to add. Very clear. Because if I am saying this is going to be my prime meridian, what you would see, if I am moving from this side, I am moving east. But where is my ideal? My ideal is existing somewhere at this point. Yes, behind this, just behind the mirror image of this. The mirror image of this is what? Right in the real is left in the mirror. And left in the real is right in the mirror. The same logic. So what you will have to see, if it is with respect to prime meridian, you are adding, which fundamentally means you are gaining. Subtracting means you are losing. When it comes to ideal, you are losing a day. Because here I am not going to lose time. When I cross ideal, I will only lose a day. I already told you that prime meridian with respect to time and ideal with respect to date or day. There is no change in time when I cross ideal. But here what am I going to do? I am going to gain. And what am I doing in the context of prime meridian? Again I am repeating, it is time. Here it is with respect to what? Day or date. You just remember the small tabular approach. I think you will be able to handle any question coming on this. Right? Remember this, you will be able to happily address those questions. Because this year also we had one question. Last year also we had one question on ideal. You never know, again this might emerge next year. Because all of us are writing 26, I assume. That is why we have assembled here, right? Right, so this is one tabular. Now, one more very powerful tabular column as part of geography I would like to give you again is with respect to variation in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, Coriolis force, ocean currents, cyclones. And what do you observe? One simple equation of Coriolis force all of us know is what? Coriolis force is proportional to V naught sine theta, where I say V naught is nothing but the velocity of the object which is moving, and theta is nothing but the latitudinal angle. Now, when you look at the common generalization that you see here, in the northern hemisphere the Coriolis force is right, in the southern hemisphere the Coriolis force is left. For ocean currents, you see that in the northern hemisphere, it is going to be clockwise. In the southern hemisphere, it is going to be anti-clockwise. Again, what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to reverse in the context of cyclones. When I see a cyclone in the northern hemisphere, it is anti-clockwise. And in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be clockwise. That's one more such generalization which you ought to have, because again, you never know when the statements are going to be flipped. Right? So that is one more you can take. Now, I'll give you one more last. With respect to one recent area of focus from the side of geography is isotherms. Right? Now, when you try reading NCERT, when you try doing research in geography on isotherms, again, it becomes very difficult for you to understand. So, in that context, again, just remember this particular tabular column, rest, everything will fall in place. Now, when you look at isotherms, one simple question that you keep seeing is, if it is moving over land, how is it shifting? If it is moving over water, how is it shifting? If you are in northern hemisphere, how is it shifting? If you are in southern hemisphere, how is it shifting? If it is during summer, how is it shifting? If it is during winter, how is it shifting? Inni shift lunte jeevitam shift ayipothi. Right? So instead of all of that, again, remember this. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. See whether it is hot or warm, which means, what is that? This could also mean for me summer, right? Or this could also mean for me tropics. All are synonymous. During summer also I have warmer temperatures. In tropical region also I have warmer temperatures. Now when you look at the other part is cooler, which is synonymous with what? Winters, which is synonymous with what? The polar regions. So what do you see again? You see, in the northern hemisphere, they shift north. In the southern hemisphere, they shift south. That is when it is either a summer, when it is either warm, or when it is either tropics. Now, when you see in the northern hemisphere, it is going to shift south, and in the southern hemisphere, it's going to shift north. When it is cooler, when it is winter, when it is polar. And where will I see a larger shift, or where will I see a minimal shift happening? The logic says what? Any phenomena that is varying with respect to northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere is only dependent upon one factor. The factor is, what is the distribution or what is the proportion of land and water? Because in the northern hemisphere you see that there is more land than water. In the southern hemisphere you see that there is more water than land. Because of the proportionate difference that is existing between land and water in the northern and southern hemisphere, you see a corresponding variation in the phenomena existing. And that is one simple takeaway, and every year we have one question on this understanding. If you are able to get it right, now one simple example you keep, which you very frequently know about, westerlies. Right? In the southern hemisphere, westerlies are much stronger. In the northern hemisphere, they are highly variable in nature. What is happening? In the southern hemisphere, they are very strong because of what? More water, more uniformity, less disturbance with respect to the distribution of land and water. But whereas when I look at northern hemisphere, that is not the case. I see more disturbance existing with respect to the distribution of land and water. Right? So that is another simple takeaway that you need to have here with respect to this. Now coming back to our purpose of mapping again. Now with respect to meridian, with respect to IST, it is UP, MP, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, AP. Now one point of concern is, don't bring it to Tamil Nadu. Right? No, Tamil Nadu log these kravalante Tamil Nadu these jarapal. Ad jaragad. Right? Is it passing through Telangana? No. Right? Be very clear. UP, MP, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, AP. After that, it goes off into Bay of Bengal. Right, so that is another important dimension that you need to remember. Okay. Now, one small variation that I would like to tell you here is with respect to grasslands. Now, when I say grasslands, you see, more or less grassland is an intermediate ecosystem. Now, when I say intermediate ecosystem, I see less trees, but I see more grass. This side of that is what? This side of that is your evergreen vegetation, which is known for thick density of trees and forest. This side you see the desert. Now, if I have to again generalize a condition here, what do we see? We see that it is an interplay of per evapotranspiration and precipitation condition. In the context of evergreen, I see more precipitation than per evapotranspiration, that is evaporation and transpiration. In the context of grasslands, I see balance of evaporation and transpiration. In the desert ecosystem, I see more evaporation than precipitation. Basic understanding. Now, because of which, what do you see in the intermediate region? You see that the grasslands mostly experience something called as fire climax. Now, I think this question, this particular statement has been asked more than 5 times in the UPSC prelims. And the latest happens to be in 2021. After that, they haven't asked. So, 2026 is going to be 5 years anniversary of grasslands. So, probably you could expect a question, we don't know. Because UPSC is very busy celebrating 100th anniversary. So, it is now focusing on anniversary celebration. Now, don't relate it to any of your anniversaries. Right, 1 year anniversary, 6 months anniversary, 1 month anniversary. आजकल 1 month भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, ठीक है, वही चल रहा है. So what do you see? It is fire climax. Now, what is the context of fire climax that you see? Now, when you look at fire climax, you see frequent episodes of fires. And because of the frequent episodes of fires, what is happening is you see there is a kind of retrogressive succession which is happening in a grassland. Now, when I say retrogressive succession which is happening in a grassland, it's very simple again. Whenever the grassland is slowly turning into tree, you see an episode of fire, and what happens? Again, it settles down only for grassland. Retrogressive means what? When it is moving backwards. Progressive or in general ecological succession is when it is moving forward. Right? So that is one more simple understanding. Now you see temperate and tropical, that is again with respect to variation in the climatic conditions. What is the position of insolation that is happening? All of that. You see prairies in Northern America, llanos, savannas, pampas in South American region, savannas and velds in African region, pustage and steppes majorly in Russia, right? Pustage in Hungary. India also experiences, or India also has savanna, majorly where, my dear, you see the central highlands is known for the grassland ecosystem. Because what is the indication that central highlands is the ecosystem which is prominent with grasslands? You see that this is the region where you find the maximum feline species, something like tiger, something like lion. If you look at the tiger population, you see Madhya Pradesh having around 526. The second coming, Karnataka with around 524, right? Maybe by now the 2 tiger difference would have been multiplied or reduced because it is India. We'll have to see. Okay. So in that context, what happens? You see the central region is known for maximum feline species. You see introduction of cheetah happening in Kuno Palampur. Yes, and where is Kuno Palampur again? Madhya Pradesh. So grassland ecosystem majorly present in central highlands. Now when you look at savannas, downs, Canterbury, all of this again with respect to Australia. So most of us will have a misconception that savannas are only restricted to Africa. Not necessarily. They're present in India, they're present in some regions of Australia, they're present in some regions of South America as well. Right? So that is another takeaway that you would have to have with respect to grasslands. Right? Now I think we'll get into some places in news, and then we'll again come back to this conventional mapping. Yes. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's what. I never brought in the discussion because I don't see them shifting so much with respect to water. What is the simple logic, my dear? Specific heat. When I see the specific heat of water, it is much, much greater than specific heat of land. Now, the rate of change that I experience over land is much faster than rate of change I experience over water. Right? If I see a 10-degree shift on land, I might maximum see 1-degree shift on land, on water, sorry. So, that is why it doesn't matter to me whether I'm shifting over water or land. Even in case if you have a doubt, I can also tell you a simple funda there. Right? What can you see? I was telling you on warm and cold. Yes? During the day, what is going to happen? I see land is definitely warmer. Water is definitely colder. So when I say during the day condition, how is the position of isotherm shifting? What can I see? Warmer condition means it is with respect to what? Land. Cooler condition means it is with respect to what? Water. That is how we see the phenomena of land breeze and sea breeze. And that is what we see an extension in the context of continentality. What's up, chal raha hai? Okay. Don't worry. Out of syllabus. Right? Just remember that his question was what is happening with respect to land and water. Always you see one difference that is existing between land and water. The difference is what? Specific heat. The difference is what? Specific heat. Right? And what is the specific heat variation? Specific heat of water is more than specific heat of land. That means I need more energy to heat up water than more energy to or less energy comparatively for land. Now in that context, what is happening? Which is going to take more time to heat up? Water. Less time? Land. So during the day, which gets heated faster? Land gets heated faster. So when I say land is getting heated faster, this warmer condition that I gave in isotherm can also be related to land. Right? You can extrapolate in that context. Now some places in news from North American region we see. It is Caribbean region. Right? Mostly with respect to the island regions of North America. Now when you look at this island region in the context of North America, what do you see? One aspect that you see is Gulf of Mexico, Florida, right? And what is this? Bermuda. And most of your Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaican islands, all these are present in this region. Now, one small point of extension that you will have to remember here. Trinidad and Tobago again in that particular region only. You just focus on the Central American distribution. Yes, look at this map. Now what is the thing that you will have to observe in this particular map is you would have to see which is open to which ocean. Right? Why? Because this is open to which ocean? This part is open to Atlantic. This part is open to Pacific. And the toughest part for most of us is to remember these countries in order. What do you see here? You have Ecuador. And you anyway know this is Panama. Then what is happening? You have Colombia. Then Venezuela. I don't know how many of you have actually had a perception. Most of the times I used to think Venezuela was somewhere here. Nakala anipichedi. Right? Mari meeku anipistadda ledo naaku teliyadu. Right? Generally, I mean. But Venezuela is not somewhere in the middle of South America. Venezuela is definitely on the north. And then what you have? You have French Guiana. Then Suriname. Sorry, we have Guyana and French Guiana. So what is the order again? Ecuador in the east. Right? It is on the west. French Guiana on the east. Right? In Africa, what is on the east? Horn of Africa. Yes, E there. Here, what is E? West. Right? Somehow you remember that. And Venezuela is not definitely in the central part of South America. Where is Venezuela? Above, northern part, right? So that is one more point of discussion that I was supposed to have as an extension to that. Then when we get into South American region, see the point of coverage is majorly from March 2025 till December 2025. Right, I have not gone anything beyond that. It is majorly March 2025 till December 2025. Right, I cannot cover till March 2026 because still it is yet to happen. So when you look at Brazil, now one thing that you observe is we had seen one observation there, that it was equator as well as Tropic of Capricorn passing through Brazil. You remember that? Yes. Now when you look at the neighboring nations of Brazil, you see one particular point is Brazil borders every South American country except Chile and Ecuador, right? Now what is going to happen? Now I told you two hotspots for this year. One hotspot was Brazil. The other hotspot is definitely anyway Congo, right? Now in case if they ask you, just like in 2023 we had a question with respect to which of the following are the neighboring countries of Ukraine in 2023. In 2022 we had a question on which of the following countries or neighboring countries of Afghanistan. In the same manner, if they ask you which of the following countries are neighboring to Brazil, you look out for these two options. UPSC will only play on these two options. Now till 2019 UPSC used to play this trick upon Mediterranean Sea. When you look at Mediterranean Sea, it used to ask which of the following is open or something like that. In that, the only exception that you were supposed to see was Jordan. Wherever you see Jordan in relation to Mediterranean Sea, immediately eliminate that option. Why? Because Jordan is not open to Mediterranean Sea. And UPSC has been constantly playing upon that trick. So what is UPSC looking at here at this? It is fundamentally looking at exceptions, right? In the context of Brazil, what is it? Except Chile and Ecuador, rest of the countries. UPSC will definitely give you Chile and Ecuador as part of the options. All that you will have to do is what? Eliminate, right? Next. For 10 more minutes, we'll do this and then we'll get into questions. Now, when you look at Atacama Desert, where all it is spread, mostly it is spread over Chile. Yes, we know, right? I'm not getting into the geography behind it. It is majorly spread across Chile, one. But we also see some expanse of it present in Argentina, some of it present in Bolivia, some of it present in Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, right? It could again become one more Andes of the future. Just like we had Andes, they could also get into Atacama. Atacama and చూడగానే మనకు ఒకటే గుర్తొస్తుంది ఏంటి? Chile, right? Chile అని చూసి అలా చిల్గా పెట్టేస్తాం. కానీ దాని తర్వాత అర్థమయ్యేది ఏంటి? We see Peru, Bolivia and Argentina also having this, right? So that is one more dimension that you will have to look into. Then, now when you look at the neighboring countries of Venezuela, right? Have you seen the meme with respect to President of Venezuela? They have mocked Donald Trump and they have put that Sula. These are current affairs, my dear. What are you looking at? Right? You'll have to focus on them more. What are the neighboring countries of Venezuela? Colombia. One logic we had already seen with respect to Brazil is it is present around every country except Chile and Ecuador, and the other one is Guyana, right? Is it having any bordering nation with any other country? No. This side it is Guyana, this side it is Brazil, this side it is Colombia, it is open to what? Caribbean Sea. It is open to Caribbean Sea, which is part of Pacific or Atlantic? Atlantic Ocean, right? So that is another simple takeaway that you need to have with respect to Brazil. Now, sorry, Venezuela. As part of Venezuela, we have also seen one kind of grassland, that is Llanos. We also see Andes mountain being present, right? Although we'll solve the question on Andes mountain, I will tell you how to solve it. Okay. Next. In the context of Argentina, the neighboring countries, again, obviously Brazil will be there, taken for granted. Then you have Bolivia and Paraguay, and then you have Chile, right? So Argentina, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, right? And Brazil and Uruguay is also part of it. Now, what is the observation of this? Is it landlocked? Argentina is too big to be landlocked. Remember that funda. What is landlocked here? Paraguay is a landlocked country in South American region. Right? Paraguay is a landlocked country in South American region. Otherwise, the rest of the countries will have a border with some or the other water body. Now you observe that maybe you will have an issue with Bolivia. Bolivia, Paraguay, landlocked, but rest of them will definitely have a coastal boundary. So what is the exception? Those which are not part of the coast is Paraguay and Bolivia, which are not open to sea or which are not open to any water body. It is Bolivia and Paraguay, right? So that is another simple learning that you will have to have with respect to this. Paraguay, it is with respect to what? Landlocked nation. Now, somewhere you feel South American region is much easier, right? To remember. Okay. Next. Africa, will keep it for tomorrow. We'll do some questions. Right. Now, major focus with respect to is last 4 or 5 years I have picked up some questions depending upon which we will I'll keep telling you techniques based on questions. We will solve some questions today, we will solve some questions tomorrow. I don't want to flood in all the techniques today. We will also have some techniques for tomorrow. Now when I look at this particular question, I somewhere remember about this very similar to G20 question in 2020. What they had done in 2020, they had given which of the following combinations are part of G20. Now again that was a tough question, but G20 meeting was going on, so everybody were by-hatting, so you were able to answer. But suddenly you see some question like NATO. Is India part of it? My doubt in the Is India part of it? Definitely not. Right? Just imagine if India was part of it. Right? Now I would like to withdraw the Indian membership based upon this. Okay? Now you see, some questions like this are getting extremely factual. Now be it this question, be it UPI question, be it Andes question, be it right, our time zone question, or per se be it that one question on cassava, that grass, herbs, shrub. Na grass ante geddi. Antak minchi difference em teliyadu. Right? Tell me the difference between shrub and herb. And there they were talking about herbaceous plant. Herbe teliyadu. Malla herbaceous. Right? Okay. So one simple funda that you can happily use here is there is a technique called N-2. Right? Now, I am telling you the disclaimer for this technique, keep this technique in mind. Okay. Now, when I say, now again I am telling you, I am not telling you this technique post-mortem. Post-mortem in the sense you see many people coming on YouTube and telling that these are eliminations and most of them are post-mortem. My analysis and my execution is not post-mortem inside the exam hall. I am not a spectator, I am a player. Right? So fundamentally what you have to understand, all of these are peacefully applied and all of these were enabling me to happily qualify my forest service cutoff. वो तो चल रहा है, ठीक है? Now what is this technique? The first condition that you will have to observe here is if more than 4 statements are given. When I see this, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Condition is what? More than 4. Whenever I see this more than 4, the second thing that you need to remember is the question has to be factual. The question is beyond the knowledge base. Now, when I say beyond the knowledge base, the condition is very simple here, my dear. Nobody would expect you to sit and by heart the countries of NATO. Right? Maybe some of you are doing it, maybe somebody is telling you to do it, but I would say that is foolish. I would rather sit and by heart members of Bimstec or SARC or something which is closer to India, but definitely not NATO. Now, it has to be what? Beyond the knowledge, it has to be factual, and it has to be what? More than 4. And automatically what is going to happen? What is this N? N means a number of statements given. Answer is what? 6 minus 2, 4. I am not doing it in front of you. I have done it in exam hall. Right? I think, hope you know, I cleared forest service cutoff in 25 also. Yes, my first attempt was in 2016 and the recent attempt was in 2025. And I have cleared some of the toughest papers, be it 2019, be it 21, be it 23, be it 25. With forest cutoffs. Iska matlab I am all eligible to talk about this. Right? This works. And for your utter surprise, based on this particular technique, there were 7 questions in 2025. Which are all above knowledge base. In this 7 questions, you apply this technique. For 6 questions, you will get right answer. For 1 question, will go wrong. That's okay. Nazar na lag jaye. Obviously. Right? That 1 question is like the disti chukka on me. Chalne do. And what is my take off at this particular point is whenever I am using elimination, again you will see me reiterating it 100 times. If I am solving 10 questions using elimination, I can definitely get 7 right, but 3 will go wrong. But still, what is my net? 7 right, 3 wrong means minus 1 question. It is 6. 6 into 2, it is net is plus 12. Non-negotiable. And if some people are coming and advocating no eliminations, eliminations are eliminated. My answer is very simple. You don't use elimination, you are eliminated. Dantlo option లేదు. Right? And within, you would know, and this would be hitting strong for most of us. So you please understand, this is one. The next question itself you see, it is asking about a question on Andes mountains. Yes, how many options? 6. 6 minus 2, 4. Where is the answer? 4. Next question. No, I am not joking. That is how it happens. Now that is why I am still smiling in the exam hall. But most of us will have what? Castor oil face inside the exam hall. Amudam. Castor oil, తెలుసా? Right? ఇప్పుడు పొరపాటున examiner comes and tells you ఎలా ఉన్నావు. What is your condition in GS paper? You know. Right? Next. This was the question that I was talking about. Isotherm. You can solve it, right? It is set A, question number 27. You can happily take. Now let's come to this question. Now let me tell you some observations, my dear. Many people flunked 2025 for a reason, because it had 3 statement questions. Most of us were ready with our guards up for 2 statement questions. Right? What is the methodology and what is the modus operandi that we follow when we are solving two statement questions? We know we will see whether statement 1 is right or statement 2 it is right. If this is wrong or this is wrong, we'll see. If it is wrong, then statement 2 is ought to be right, then option becomes C. C? No, option becomes D. If statement 1 is right and second statement is wrong, option becomes C. If both the statements are right, then you will have to go for the second layer of verification whether statement 2 is the reason for statement 1. That is the second layer of observation. If this is going right, then it is option A. If that is not going right, then you will settle down for option B. That is the modus operandi that you follow, an algorithm that you follow for option. Now let me tell you for 3 statements also. You see there are 3 statements. Don't speculate on statement 1. Why? Because statement 1 is always right. Don't speculate. Because when you look at the options here, what are they telling you? They are telling you statement 2 and statement 3 are correct and standing as a reason for statement 1. That is one option. Statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, but they are not the reason for statement 1. And the option C is what? One of the statement 2 and statement 3 is right, is option 3. And both the statements are incorrect is option D. Take it for granted. Take it for granted. For 3 statement questions, option is never going to be D. ये दिमाग में बिठा लेना. Why? Because it is near impossible almost for both the statement 2 and statement 3 to go wrong. Near impossible. इसका मतलब I told you 2 conclusions here. One conclusion is statement 1 is always right. Why? If you go back and refer to the piece of information that is given in statement 1, it is always talking about information, never analysis in statement 1. But when you look at statement 2 and statement 3 is talking about analysis. And I also told you statement 2 and statement 3 can never go wrong completely. So option D can never be there with the option here. Next. Now what is the algorithm? All that you will have to verify is whether this is right and this is right. In case even if one is going wrong, automatically answer is going to go C. Why? Because what is option C saying? Option C says one of the statements is incorrect or only one of the statement is correct. That means one of either statement 2 is going wrong or statement 3 is going wrong. That you will have to be very sure. That you will have to be very sure. So इसका मतलब क्या है? So you see, if one is going wrong, option is going to settle down for C. Now what is the best case scenario I have? The best case scenario is when both the statements are right. What you should see, if statement 1, statement 2, statement 3 are existing, you will have to see if statement 2 is the reason for statement 1 and if statement 3 is the reason for statement 1. Be very, very careful about the movement of direction. In which direction are you moving? I always say in 2 statement based, what is my direction? From statement 1 I am moving to, from statement 2 I am moving to statement 1. This is the cause, this is the effect. In 3 statement questions, what am I seeing? I am seeing statement 2, statement 3 moving towards the statement 1. And you don't have to establish any relation between statement 2 and statement 3. Don't unnecessarily break your head. So what is the relation that we are fixing upon here is we are looking at statement 2, statement 3, whether statement 2 is the reason for statement 1, whether statement 3 is the reason for statement 1. If both the statements stand out to be the reason for statement 1, then the option is going to be A. If only one of them is going to stand as a reason for statement 1, then the option is going to be B. If only one of the statements of statement 2 and statement 3 is right, option is going to be C. Remember this approach. Otherwise, you are ending up messing 3 statement questions. And this year, when I see, when I interact, when I come across, I have seen many students leaving 3 statement questions and coming off. And the proportion of 3 statements questions were also so much that you cannot afford to leave them. But the beautiful part of these 3 statement questions was you were supposed to just have patience. You were supposed to read the statements, you eliminate one, answer was coming. Now let us look at this particular question. When we see this question, it is talking about 28th COP, India refrained from signing the declaration. That is giving you information. So I am not saying whether it is right or wrong. Statement 1 is always right. Look at statement 2. The COP28 declaration on climate and health is a binding declaration. Come on. Always remember, none of my international agreements are binding. I eliminate second statement. What is my answer? I don't even have to sit and think. But most of you are trying to analyze these questions. I am telling you one thing, my dear, with my observation again. You will have all the energy to analyze just first 50 questions. You are exhausted by the time you finish first 50 questions. Last 50 questions, you are like inky pinky ponky. Ye tagilte adi ayyedi anni pedadam. Vaste prelims. Raakapothe inko attempt. Idante enti? Maya. Are you understanding? This is common observation. That is why most of your negatives are popping up from last 50. देख लेना, observe कर लो इसको. Why is it popping up from last 50? You are losing patience, no energy, and more importantly, first 50 you spend 1 hour 20 minutes, last 50 you spend 40 minutes. Disproportionate. Are you understanding? So be extremely careful and do not get or do not become a researcher there. I understand prelims is important for all of us. But that doesn't mean it makes us overcautious, and that doesn't mean it makes us the masters of overthinking. Right? Obviously, you have to understand that. Right? Next. So answer for that is what? See, I'm not doing anything else. Okay. Now this was a question on Article 6. Many people speculated again. Look at this 35th question. Interesting. Is it visible last name? Yes? Okay. Which of the following launched the Nature Solution Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific? నేను చెప్తున్నాను కదా, ఎవరన్నా ఇది బయటకు వచ్చి మామ ఇది నేను చదివి వెళ్ళాను మోయన్ 2 నిమిషాలు ఇంకా హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ క్లాస్ ఉంది ప్లీజ్. రైట్, I understand you are excited, but koncham. If somebody comes and tells you I have read it and I have revised, right, immediately take his paper and tear it, because that's a lie. You coming and reading or you coming across this ho hi nahi sakta. If you have come across this, UPSC will never come across it. Be very clear. That is the source that they are following for international relations. Oh, to dimag mein bitha ke chalao yaar. You see, Nature Solution Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific. Right? When I was solving, my eye was only on Asia, Asia, Asia. So definitely my option is between A and B. Ante kada. Asia eed undi. Khachitanga Asia undi. UPSC gives you these clues. One more step I will have to go ahead is what it is talking about Asia and Pacific. Now I know one country which is closer to this Asia Pacific region, we say is US. What is AIIB majorly with respect to? Can these be part of the same organization? हो गया ना. Now I am a master of international relations. నాకు ఎవరు కొట్టుకుంటున్నారు, ఎవరు ఫ్రెండ్స్ అన్నది మాత్రమే తెలుసు. ఎవరికి బ్రేకప్ అయింది, ఎవరికి ప్యాచప్ అయింది, అంతే. అంతే కదా, అశోక్ నగర్లో వాటి గురించి ఎక్కువ. రైట్. సో వాట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్ హియర్? నో ఐఎమ్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ కంట్రీస్. రైట్, క్లారిఫికేషన్. డోంట్ థింక్ అదర్వైజ్. సో వాట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్? ADB, AI, IB. I know China and US cannot go together. So eliminate, I am arriving at option A. Should I byheart some reports like this, my dear? I would say no. Same logic इसको use कर लो यार. अब इसमें they are talking about INSTC, International North South Transport Corridor, a multimodal transport corridor which will connect. Right. Now what are they asking you? Which of the following are the founding members? Right. India to Central Asia via China. Right. ఇది ఓకే, ఇది మరీ టూ మచ్. అంటే ఎట్లా ఇట్లా పోవాలి. నాకు తెలిసిందంత ఏంటమ్మా, ఈ డేడో చైనా ఉంటుంది, మనం ఈడు ఉంటాం సెంట్రల్ ఏషియా పైన, అంతెందుకు తిప్పుకొని. Not that. Because if China was there, somewhere east also should have been there. नहीं, ये सब north south चल रहा है. Right? India to Southeast Asia through Bangladesh and Myanmar. పోయి దీని నుంచే పోవాలి మనం. Bangladesh. Now what am I remaining with? Two options. Yes, I am using logic in front of you. But if I tell you something magical here, whenever I see something like Europe, I don't even see other options. I already told you Europe is characterized with what? Advancement. Europe is characterized with what? Advancement. अब क्या चल रहा है? Transport corridor. Advancement ही चल रहा है. Development, growth. Now see, India to Europe through Azerbaijan, India to Central Asia to Europe via Iran. Now what shall we do here? Now my simple approach always would be, which is a broader option? Which is a broader option? Okay. Why? Central Asia, Europe via Iran. Why? Because I cannot go through Pakistan. Ante kada. So only option is what? Iran or Afghanistan. If I have to go through Afghanistan, I have all hilly structures existing. It is tough terrain that I will have to pass through. Right? Which is broader? You see, India to Europe through Azerbaijan. అసలు మనకి అజర్బైజాన్కి ఏం సంబంధం? Yes or no? Now first of all, India is here, Afghanistan is here. Is Azerbaijan the bordering country of Afghanistan? No, that is 2022 question. I will show you today. Yes, so that means Azerbaijan is somewhere here. Now why would I go there, come back to here, go there? Why so much? Instead of all of this logic, it is always see which is broader, which is narrow. This is extremely narrow, this is a broader option. So automatically answer is going to be what? A. Now I don't know why many keys were speculating on this. There is nothing to speculate. Answer is straight away A. No option, no speculation on this. Look at 67 IBRD question. Now when we look at IBRD, it provides loans and guarantees to middle income. It works single-handedly to help developing countries to reduce poverty. Single-handedly ante etla? Oka chettona etla how? What is IBRD, my dear? World Bank. World Bank itself composes of 5 organizations. Then how can you say single-handedly? Obviously not, my dear, because all of your international aspects are dealt with what? Cooperation. So eliminate second statement. You don't even have to know what is the abbreviation. You cannot afford to get such questions wrong, because these are what are going to take you closer to the cutoff. Because I already told you 30 questions, 60. Rest additional 30 marks will come from such questions. How many questions like that? 15 such extra questions will take you across that magical figure of 90, 100. Next. You tell me, my dear, UPI. How many options? 5 greater than 4. 5 minus 2. How much? 3. 3. UPI kaadu kada, PPI aina okate. How does it matter to me? Right? UPI, NEPI. I only see 5, 6, 7. If it is 7, 5. 6, 4. 5. What if it is 4? Now don't write, sir, 4 minus 4, 0. None of the above. That's not the logic, right? Don't get in there, right? I only told you this option has to be more than 4. Time zone. This was the question where you will get that option wrong, right? Now time zone, 4 time zones. Did you ever imagine some question like this will pop up? Impossible. Very specific with respect to what? More than 4. Manaku telisindi enti India ku utundi. Ante. Right? Does anybody know which country has how many time zones? Is that the case? No. Be very, very clear. Right? That is not the case. So what are we seeing? Now when I apply n minus 2 here, how much it is? 5 minus 2, answer is 3. Right? But answer is not 3. This is the one question that I was telling you, which you will get incorrect. Now you want 100% accuracy? 70, 30 when it comes to elimination, when it comes to optimization again. This was the question that I was talking about, ideal, international dateline. You can apply that, you can happily get, right? Now what to do with questions like this? Country, resource rich, Botswana, diamond, Chile, lithium, Indonesia, nickel. In this, one thing we are very sure about is this. Right, where is Botswana? Africa, mostly known for Blood Diamond, a movie. 2 you know. Third one is, this was in news. That was in news, right? Now what shall you do in that option? Now anyway you know it is only 2. That means you are going to eliminate. Now we are remaining with B and C. Can you leave this question? Always remember, something with 50% probability, don't leave. First priority is if you know all the questions, if you know all the options, attempting. Second priority is 50-50. Third priority is if one option is eliminated and 3 more are remaining. That is the third priority of attempting. If you don't know anything about that, that is the last priority. Do not unnecessarily randomly put A, then B, then C. Don't get into that, because even if 3 negatives are restricted, I will get +2. Remember that logic. If I have 15 negatives restricted, I am having +10. Are you able to observe that? So that +10, most of you would be stuck between 80 to 85, and for all of those, all that you will have to do is what? Reduce the number of mistakes. I was talking about something. Nature restoration law to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss. Progressive. So what is the logic? European Union. Remember that generalization. That Europe is meant to be what? Progressive. So definitely you'll have something progressive. Now this question stands interesting here. It's a question on Bimstec. Now when you look at Bimstec, most of us know what are the countries here, and most of us know what was the declaration upon which it came into existence. That is Bangkok Declaration, which had got into existence in 1997. This is basic read that we have in IR. Now look at second option. You see it came into existence with signing of Dhaka Relation. You remove 2, you are left with what? You remove 2, you are left with C and D. You are left with C and D. That means you are supposed to look at elimination of 4th statement. In Bimstec, the subsector of tourism is being led by India. What shall you do? No option, take risk. Risk lena hi padega. Because we were focusing on where is this Bimstec meeting going on, we all know, but suddenly UPSC went to asking on subsector. Will we start sitting and looking at all the subsectors? No. So what I would tell you, in such questions, you will have to take risk. Because I was able to arrive at 50-50, now either go with 1 and 4 or go for 1 only. You have no other option. Sir, do you have any trick for this? No trick. Right? Nahi chalega. Nahi hai isme. So all that I will tell you is take risk. Now look at this question. I'll tell you something interesting in this. Now they are asking about what? Consider the following statements regarding the AI Action Summit held in Grand Palais, Paris in February 2025. Co-chaired with India, the event builds on the advances made at the Bletchley Park Summit held in 2023 and Seoul Summit held in 2024. Right? Now most of us are skeptical with respect to what? Whether was it held in Bletchley in 2023, whether was it held in Seoul in 2024. At this juncture, what is going to come to your rescue? Your current affairs magazine. Because Bletchley declarations, all of these meetings on AI has been very prominent. Right? So in that, you will have to see that. Now when we look at second statement, along with other countries, US and UK also signed the declaration on inclusive and sustainable AI. I am okay with this. This is questionable. That is questionable. Why? Look at the regime. Whose regime? Trump mama. What is his regime known to be? Conservative. America first. Forget about inclusion. He said climate change is a myth. Right? And you name the international organization, you name the international mechanism, he has withdrawn. And when that is the tendency in something like inclusive and sustainable, Trump believes the regime to nahi hai. Are you understanding this? What are we looking at? General character of every country that is going on. Am I looking at all the countries or some major countries which are present? What is the tendency of China? Anni lakkodam is China, including districts of Arunachal Pradesh. Right? Water, technology, resources, space. Anni, what is its tendency? Snatch away everything. Greedy fellow. What is US? Huh? US is like a mad monkey. You don't know. What it does, it does. Now you see on January 1st, they wished that we will wish a happy, prosperous, peaceful new year. January 2nd, you see, peace hitting its maximum in Venezuela. And the worst part is the way the Venezuelan candidate was picked up. I know, okay. Why his wife? They tried some combo offer, God knows. One question I just wanted to do. People say, no, sports, right? Some even started playing Coco after this question. Okay. Now, what is this question talking about? The first Coco World Cup, right? Now, similar question was there in 2023, 2021. When we had first World Championship in Test, we had the question in 2021. Now look at this, the event was held in Delhi. This everybody knew. Now the concern is Indian men bet Nepal with a score of 78-40 in the final to become the world champion in men category. Indian women bet Nepal with a score of 54-36 in the final to become the world champion in women category. Now, after looking at this question, will you start following all the sports and all the scores? No. The logic is very simple here. I don't even know exchange. These are extremely factual to be remembered. And these are extremely specific to be remembered. And what is one takeaway that you should always have whenever you're solving prelims questions is one thing. If things are becoming extremely factual and things are becoming extremely specific, then UPSC, most of the times it is what? Incorrect statement. Why? Because administration is not about cramming facts. Administration is about analyzing facts. Now, they are asking you to remember the numbers. Not possible. Sometimes they will tell 67.8% of something is going on. Can you remember that? No. I can show you hundreds of questions which this logic is going to work out. Whenever the statement becomes extremely factual, whenever the statement becomes extremely specific, what? It is incorrect. So automatically what is going to happen? You see 2 and 3 going wrong. What is remaining? 1. That's the answer. Right? This is a question from 2024. Last 10 minutes and we'll wrap up. Okay. 24. Which of the following countries are well known as the 2 largest cocoa producers? Right? If you ask me, sir, how would I did not give 24 in exam hall. मैंने नहीं दिया because 23 then I took break in 24 because my civils got over, then 24 break, 25 forest. If I was solving this in exam hall, I would have go. Sir, are you joking? This is which year? 24. Question number 5. If you look at the positioning of the question was exactly here. Question paper में देख लेना किसी भी set में the positioning of the question is exactly here. Remember question number 5, positioning here, which year? 2024. अब आ गया ना. What is the number? Question number 7, 2023. This is 2023. Positioning of the question here. Cobalt, Congo, option C. There, cocoa caught the ivory, option C. Now, what is this happening here? Magical. Now, don't say, sir, in Morocco. I think in that first option in Morocco also you will have co. I'll show you. Milantol untarani telusra naku. Sir, Morocco also co, sir. What happened to this co? Leave. Let me specify something. Now, what was the nature of option here? This is nothing but Ivory Coast. I say this is the logic of cautiousness. When I say logic of cautiousness, when examiner is trying to set a correct answer, he is always giving the truest form of the option. He could have given here in place of caught the ivory, he could have given Ivory Coast. But what is the original name which is considered in the international organizations? It is caught the ivory. In that particular question in 2023 about Cobalt, what did he give? He gave you Democratic Republic of Congo. He could have simply given Congo. Could have simply given Congo, but what did he say? Democratic Republic of Congo. Sir, should we analyze all of this? You should. You have no option. Otherwise, will you sit and by heart about who is producing cocoa, who is producing cassava, what is cassava, where is cassava? God knows. You are doing that. That is why you're struggling prelims. And most of you prelims has become what, my dear? Nightmare. And people around you focusing on knowledge, what are they telling? By hat, by hat, by hat. See that, see that. Finally, you are just making these bookstall fellows rich. In the process of making bookstall fellows rich, you are also making these tea stall fellows rich. Anni bookul chadavalante delicate mind, stress. So automatically what? Chai. Now you open your phone pay and see. Right? Man intolak kuda anni sarlu pampichunna. Are you understanding this funda? Don't run behind sources, always simplify. And what is my observation? Sit down and work on PYQs. Sit down and work on PYQs. Now I have just showed you some sample of eliminations. I have at least 30-35 of those eliminations, which time will not actually permit me to do all of those. Sir, what are these techniques? These techniques are always based on generalization is one fact. These techniques are always based on pattern analysis with respect to UPSC. And these techniques are always based on common sense. So, if I say, is there any replacement to this? Only replacement is leaving UPSC. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I'm being very, very serious on that, because it is high time somebody speaks very strongly upon this notion of running behind knowledge. ఎందుకంటే ఎన్నిసార్లు చెప్పినా మళ్ళీ everybody is seen in front of bookstalls, right? I would end the session with one last question. World Toilet Organization, right? If we openly agree, none of us know this. Anybody knew it when you were writing it in the exam hall? Right? If you knew it, it means you were working with it. That's all. That's the only option available. Right? That's the only option available. Otherwise, there is no chance of anybody knowing. Now, whenever they are giving you these international organizations, I already told you, one, they would check with UN. What they have given, it is one of the agencies of UN. My logic to you is, if it was an agency of UN, you would have known. Yes. So definitely it is not agency, because you don't know. But how do we think? Naaku teliyadu kabatte adi ayyuntundemo. That is the level of confidence we have around preparation. Believe, my dear, you people are hardworking. I understand. And when you are hardworking, when you have read so much, and in spite of reading so much, you did not come across this, that means definitely it is not part of UN. Usko eliminate kar lo. You remove one. You are removing only one option. I still have 2, 3, 2 and 3. Let's see. World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day, World Toilet College are the initiatives of this organization to inspire to tackle the global sanitation crisis. I only know all of these means definitely in the question also what? It is matching, 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 matching. But apart from this, most of the international organizations' mandate is a right statement. They would not manipulate the mandate of the organization. First kind of manipulation they do is with respect to agency of UN. Where they don't manipulate with respect to mandate. But the third kind of manipulation that we generally see here is with respect to what? You look at this question, this particular statement. The main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed countries and developing countries to achieve the end of open defecation. What is it saying? Grant funds. That means it is talking about it has financing power. Out of all the powers, what is the strongest power? Financing power. Now, what is my observation? My observation is any organization starting with world does not have any financing powers. Now, don't come and tell me, sir, World Bank. World Bank lo bank undi. Logic. World Bank, you have bank. So, definitely financing power. World Economic Forum. Financing power. World Health Organization. No. Any organization starting with world does not have financing power. And any organization starting with world is majorly focused on monitoring, spreading awareness, and having an educative function. Having an educative function. So with my logic of mandate, the second statement is right. But with my logic of world organization or organization starting with world does not have any financing power, the third statement is incorrect. So what is remaining to me? Two only. I would have solved this question if I was solving it in exam hall. This is World Toilet Organization. We didn't know anything, but did we arrive at the answer? Yes, it is not your greatness, it is the greatness of UPSC. It is kind enough to continue the trends which it is following. Sir, will it stop in 2026? No. Right? And don't question your luck so much. Right? Sir, నేను ఎందుకు పుట్టాను నాకే ఎట్లా జరుగుతుంది యూపీఎస్సీ మార్చేస్తారు సార్ పక్కా ఎందుకంటే నేను రాస్తున్నా కాబట్టి మారిపోద్ది ఏం కాదురా రైట్ because I will again tell you one thing. I was happy with them in 2016. I am happy with them in 2025. And I can also definitely tell you if my great grandchild also write prelims examination, that fellow also will be happy with these techniques. Why? Because these techniques are not something which are magical, but these are purely logical in nature. They are based on generalizations. They are based on trends. They are based on common sense. These are nothing like out of the blue eureka moments. No. All these are logical. Is this clear? We have some more of such techniques to be discussed. We would continue tomorrow. I think tomorrow also you have a session? Yes, sir. Unda? Yes. So same aspect. First traditional mapping. Then places in use, and then we'll get into questions, right? I think tomorrow is the last day with respect to this. Is this clear? Are you all learning? Yes, sir. Yes. Enjoying? Yes, sir. Are you getting that prelims is easy? Yes, sir. Ikkadem energy le. Right? It's easy. Unnecessarily people around you make it tough, right? You get into right company, you get into right understanding, prelims is easy, right? So that's it from my side for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.